Boys and girls, moms and dads, welcome to Pin the Volleyball Podcast. My name is Ryan Tolman. I'm your host. To my right, as always, Danger Will Robinson. Behind our screen over there, Noah Cotterman. Screens, multiple screens. We've got episode 15 coming your way. You ready to get this show rolling?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Seamless intro. It's like our third episode in 4 weeks that we're filming. So
we should technically call this season 2.
We're getting really good at it. Well, there was that break. I asked you if you wanted to do 2 seasons. You're like, no, it's fine. I'm like, okay, the
table's not big enough.
Well, I'm just too big for the table. But so yeah, season 1 still, I guess. Have we hit the year mark yet?
No,
we have indeed.
Okay, so this should we go season 2, episode 1?
I would like our producer to chime in.
I mean, I don't think so. No, I think we just keep it going.
It's final.
Just big old episode run up. Eventually, we'll get to episode
4,000.
I was going to say more like 40.
Episode 40 when we're
40
old
when I'm
and
40.
gray. When you have
grandkids.
Yeah. Well, I mean that might be episode 100 by the time we get grandkids. Yeah. Hey, they're focused on other things. All right. So we got an interesting show for you today. We're really excited about just this next step in maybe the buzzword types series that we're doing right now, I guess is kind of the best way to put it.
Cliche.
Yeah. So our buzzword today is role. Title of our show is Know Your Role.
ROLE.
Wrong.
Just to make sure we're not talking food.
Like dinner roll or rolling down a hill or whatever. Yeah. Know your role. We're going to talk about different players' roles, how they fit into the framework of a team, kind of what their, I guess that this comes from, the last handful of weeks that we've been coaching where we've been dealing with trying to win matches, trying to continue to develop kids, dealing with,
now the matches matter.
Yeah, I see, right. Matter. Yeah. Nothing ever really matters, right? But in this case, I think there was a song written about that.
Ooh.
Nothing really matters. Metallica. Okay. All right. So anyway, we're going to talk about that today. Let's get to Noah's trivia of the week show. Of the week. If we filmed every week, it'd be a great segment. So just trivia of the show.
Yeah, trivia.
We got one from last time, and now we have one for this one. So let's go last time. What do we got?
Trivia question from last time was
I've been anxiously waiting this one, by the way.
Oh, really?
Oh, gosh, yes. Okay. Anxiously awaiting the answer to this because...
I have not.
Okay, Will doesn't care. But I do, even though you're the trivia guy, right?
I love trivia.
I know, I'm a little upset you don't care.
But the key word in this is beach.
Okay, so but it's trivia. You should still care.
Yeah. Will only cares about stuff he only cares about.
I know, right?
That's a very
he didn't
human
come up
thing.
with the question. So, all right, what do you got, buddy?
What year was beach volleyball introduced to the Olympics?
Okay, and Will took 1996. I remember being slightly upset about that because I liked the answer. I'm not. It's not a grow up thing, Will. It's just
you need to watch your mouth, Mister.
Keep it clean on Noah's trivia segment. Okay, so Will and I both agreed that it was probably right around 1996, but we're probably wrong.
You two are indeed correct.
Oh, let's go.
It was 1990. I think this is the. We want that. Yeah. There we go.
That's
good job,
right.
guys.
Clap for us.
I think this is the first time you guys have gotten one right.
100% the first time.
I think we could get this next one right. I think.
You think you're going to get the next one right?
Ooh, interesting. All right.
And I think she might have played for Long Beach State.
What player has the most National Player of the Year awards for women's NCAA volleyball?
Don't hate me when I say this.
Division One.
Please, listeners, don't hate me. Will, Noah, don't hate me. I could not name one female that has a National Player of the Year award.
Yes, you could. You had, in fact, already named one.
Will said it. I would not have pulled that out.
Oh,
really?
No way.
I know who she is.
You agreed like right away.
I know who she is.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, this is the first time I will ever give you guys a hint. There are more than one person. There is more than one person tied.
They're tied for
this.
3.
Yes.
There's 2 of them.
Is it 3?
There's more than one.
No. I'm saying
how many
won
awards?
It 3 times.
You gonna give us that?
Oh, no. They've only won it twice.
Oh, okay. Twice. Winning 3 would be really hard.
Yeah. Because you're not winning your freshman year.
Well, rare.
I do think Catherine Plummer is a great guess.
Catherine Plummer's a really good volleyball player. I do know who that is.
I think it's going to be a Stanford chick.
Noah, here's the next question for you.
Well, it's not just one; it's multiple.
Well, I do. Okay, so one of them is going to be a Stanford.
Noah,
chick.
Can we know what position, or is that just giving it away?
It's going to be an outside hitter. There's no way.
Outside. They're all outsides.
Well, so there's way more than just two.
In fact, I will give you how many there are. There are 5.
Oh my gosh, we're not going to get in. We're not going to get all 5 of them.
And these are going across a lot of eras.
For sure. First year, hold on, let me find the first year. This. I believe the first year was 89.
Okay, next question, Noah. Has there ever been a freshman that has won the award? Maybe that's a question for the future.
I don't think so.
And possibly is a question for the future.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
I don't think Catherine won it her freshman year. That was the year they won a national championship.
First year they awarded that award was 1985.
Okay,
so you got some time to think back.
30 years here.
Oh gosh. Great question, Noah. For those volleyball nerds out there, I'm just not that.
Okay, so I think one's going to be Logan Tom. The other one's going to be like Jordan Larson. Can't be Faluk because you said it was outside hitters.
There was a setter.
He said it was all outsides, right?
All outsides.
Except maybe one of them, but Faluk's not on the...
Yeah, okay.
That's. I'll give you that one. She's not one of them.
Hanif Park, maybe. And then there's another one. Oh, Odin. Are any of the Odin sisters on that?
They are on the list of National Players of the Year, but they are not on this list. In fact, their 2 sisters, each won one. Didn't know that.
They were ballers, too.
Yeah.
Here, next question.
Yeah. We're now moving to Tolman's Trivia of the Week.
Trivia of the Week.
Show. What?
Okay? Should I know this? Should I know more about this? I feel like your team, that when you asked them if they knew who John Wooden was, and I feel like I should know this answer. Should I, or at least
that's
more
a little
of these
different? I feel like
more of these girls, women that you're talking about. Like, I don't know, dude.
Well, I mean, like Logan Tom was national team, Jordan Larson's national
I've heard
team.
of these people. Yes, I know who these people
you
are.
probably don't know the Odin sisters.
No,
though. Yeah, they're yeah. I only know them because of Doug Nunnever.
My knowledge does not extend beyond about 2010, probably.
Okay,
and that's pushing it. That was, I just didn't pay a lot of attention to it. I watched, but I just didn't learn.
Did I get any of them, Noah?
I didn't bother to learn names.
You said a name or two that's on the list, yeah.
Dope.
Congratulations.
3 of the girls that are on the list were all back-to-backs.
Well, you would think
so. That's their junior, senior. That's junior.
Yeah, you would think.
Or senior, graduate, maybe. Maybe no, because they're not going to get red. They could get red.
See, and here's the other
probably
thing.
not.
I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't even tell you who won the National Player of the Year for men's basketball, and I like men's college basketball.
Yeah, I don't know who won that last year.
Not that I don't like women's volleyball, but
do you know
what
now?
I mean?
No, I don't watch college basketball.
Okay, but
I think last year was Dana Retke, right?
In the fall, it was Dana Retke. In the spring, it was Madison Lilly.
Are you proud of me for?
Oh yeah, because it was a quickie.
Are you proud of me for knowing that? I pulled the Dana Retke name out.
You know who Madison Lilly is?
She was a setter for Kentucky.
Nice job, dude.
Yeah, see, I got a few.
He's doing it, but that's 2010 and later.
Yeah,
yeah. Mm-hmm. You're doing great.
I knew the Kentucky one.
She was incredible.
She was pretty fun to watch. All right, well, we'll find out next time. Lots of people on that. Are those going to be household names? Are there what's the oldest one?
Yeah.
Not tell us the person, but maybe the year.
Probably like early 90s.
You know what I mean? Like that might be interesting to know.
1987.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well,
that was quick. So it was 87, 88?
Melanie Heller.
No. So it was 86, 87. Is that what 87, 89.
Yep.
There it is.
They had volleyball. They had volleyball back then.
I'm just going to keep giving you hints. In 89, 2 people co-won the award, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
They're both on the list.
Oh, wow. Yeah, see, I'm
interesting. I don't know that much from that way back in the day.
That's a good one, though. I think we're going to get a lot of comment engagement.
What about someone who went into the beach? What about like a Carrie Walsh? Did she ever win an indoor?
She did. She won at Stanford.
She was a player of the year?
She was at this. I'm pretty sure she was younger than Logan Tom. I'm pretty sure.
Who, Carrie Walsh?
Yeah.
All right.
Just barely, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. Good question, Noah.
That's a good one.
Any feedback, comments, anything from... I mean, we know we just barely got episode 13 back on YouTube. We don't know if there's anything in there. If you have an opportunity to comment.
Nothing as of now.
All right.
As we are recording this one, though, 14 is being uploaded, so they get a double whammy this week.
This week. That'll be exciting for the YouTubers.
And then 15 will come out the week of...
13 and 14 are already out on Spotify and Google. So if you're listening to this, you probably heard those too. And you're like, okay, Tolman, don't tell me all that stuff. All right, let's get into our show.
Let's do it.
Read that the show.
Yeah, read that quote for us, Will.
I don't complain about playing time. My job is to play so well, the coach can't sit me. Shane Battier.
Good job pronouncing his name right.
Yep. NBA champion.
Shane Battier. Where do you play basketball?
Duke.
That's probably why he's so smart.
NBA champion on the Miami Heat. Go Heat.
God, you're such a homer.
Had to get it in there. Sorry.
Had to get it in there. He's an interesting guy. I think Shane Battier is an interesting guy. Was he a national player of the year?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me check.
Fact check.
That's interesting. It's a really interesting thing probably not, but that's a really interesting thing about college basketball, college sports in general, college football. Like think about the Tim Tebows of the world that are just gnarly collegiate players.
Matt Leinart.
And then they get to the pros and they kind of flame out. Shane Battier.
RG3.
Okay, so I found the list. I'm also going to tell you, because we were talking about it, from last year's season, Oscar, I'm going to murder his last name.
Oh.
Toshibwe.
I don't know how to say it either. The Kentucky kid.
Yeah. Kentucky kid.
He's back this year.
So
he could win it again.
He won it, yeah.
Oh, I don't even know who that guy is.
Yeah. Big dude plays for Kentucky.
All right, let me look for
You're surprised
Shane
that he's
Battier.
big, right?
Shane Battier. No, I just...
all basketball players. Not all. But the ones that win awards, usually they're pretty big.
Did Mario Chalmers win an award?
Oh, dude, I don't. That's a long time ago. Kansas.
2001.
Shane
Player
Battier?
of the Year, Shane Battier.
Player of the year.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. Like, and then he gets the pros. Not flame.
Duke had 3 and 4 years with Elton Brand, Shane Battier, and Jay Williams.
See, and Jay Williams short because of an accident, right?
Yeah.
Motorcycle accident. Elton Brand had a great career. He was probably an all-star a few times. But Shane Battier, National Player of the Year, on probably won a national championship.
They did.
Yeah. And he gets to the pros. And not that he had a bad career by any means. He played for a long time. He played on some really good teams, but he was, and this is why this quote works great for us. He was a role player on all of those teams. He was never the star.
Defensive guru.
Played great defense, right? So he is going to help us lead into our topic today about being, not necessarily just being a good role player, but knowing what your role is, regardless of whether or not it's, a role player where you don't play a lot or you have your niche or whatever. And then also, maybe you're a star player, but what is that role? We're going to define some roles for you and talk about how those roles fit into the grand scheme of things when it comes to teams and how to create successful teams based on those roles. I think that the biggest headaches coaches deal with are their role players because they don't quite understand how to deal with that.
Are you saying the coach or the player doesn't
From a
know?
coach perspective. And then from a player perspective, settling in, especially in volleyball, settling into this role player type of an environment can be really hard. Basketball's a little different. Like you could, unless you're playing 0 minutes in basketball, you can be a role player, play 10, 15 minutes, still feel really like involved, like you did something, like you contributed to the win of the success of the team. Volleyball's a little different, right? Like, like I suppose, because we don't substitute a lot for rest. You know what I mean?
No, you play.
Right.
Yeah, so your horses are out there the whole match.
You could throw your 7 best players out, and you don't need to go past that.
You can't do that in basketball.
Well,
if you do, your name is, what's his name? Tim
Tom Thibodeau.
Does he
just gasses
absolutely destroyed Derek Stroh's career?
Mike D'Antoni used to do that too. You know,
they would play like 46 minutes a night.
Right. Crazy. So anyway, so you look at this, the role in volleyball, I think it's very difficult for people to understand. So we'll go through some of it and see if we can lend some insight. Let's just start with defining what these roles are. What roles exist within the framework of a volleyball team?
Well, you said 7.
Sure. So there's 7 positions,
but
essentially.
Sometimes you can do 9 because of a 6-2.
Depending on what lineup you're running.
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be 2 outsides. There's always going to be 2 middles.
Right.
There might be 2 setters. There might be 2 setters, and then there might be 2 opposites.
If you're running the 6-2,
and then you got the libero.
The libero.
Yep. So that's 9.
So those are positions, though. Is that? Yep. I don't know that. Is that a? Okay. So let's start there then. You have your starters.
Yep.
And they're the positions we just named. Everybody within that group also has a role. And we got into a good conversation before this started.
Off air. Before we decided to record. And so we kind of defined job versus role. So your job on the team is that you're a player, you're an outside hitter, right? I think that's your job. And then what is your role within that? So let's talk about the outsides. Let's go like an OH1 terminology. We probably need to define it. Outside hitter, number 1, right? Your first outside. And we've already done a show on this, right? Like what makes up an outside hitter? What is your job? What are your job descriptions, duties? We've already done that. So outside hitter 1, get a kill. Is that your star player? Depends on what's going on. I would say most of the time it is.
Internationally, it's actually started to change. People have started to flip their OH1 and OH2. Actually, not necessarily. They just put the best big hitter in the 2.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty sure Team USA did that this last year at the VNL. They put TJ DeFalco in the 2 because he's a much better big hitter than...
Spreads your offense around a little bit. So OH2, you're a second outside hitter, good ball control passer, whatever, doesn't make a lot of errors. M1's probably your best attacker, M2 best blocker. I mean, you can make arguments for either one, right? I mean, we don't want to get into the details of that. We already had a show about that, but everybody within that's going to have a role to play, right? Like the middles, everybody wants to hit, right? Even the liberos want to set the ball, but that's not necessarily their role. Your role is to, like outside hitter 2, for example, that's probably the best way to explain this. Outside hitter 2, you're a good passer. You don't get a set as much as the outside hitter 1. That goes a lot of the balls. Those balls go to the right side. They go to the middle. Maybe they go to the back row. You get a lot of outlet balls. You're not necessarily a huge component to the offense. That's a typical role within that framework of an outside hitter 2. Not all outside hitter 2s are built that way.
Yeah.
But that's pretty common, right? That's kind of what you're hoping for, right?
Like in the instance of the Laney Wagner, Brooke Nunaviller.
Sure, those teams. Yeah, Brooke was more ball control, and Laney was going to go thump it. And so we have definite roles when it comes to those positions. But then it extends beyond that a little bit, and this is where we want to go.
That's going to be the intangibles, like what you bring, like the glue guy.
Right.
There's always the glue guy. There's always the hype man. There's always this person.
The leader, your captain, So
you're stoic person, but are those roles necessarily, or are those personalities?
Personalities, but I think they evolve into roles, right? I think naturally some of these roles happen on their own, right? A guy will be like, "Oh yeah, I'm the hype guy. I get everybody pumped up, right? I'm the de facto leader, whether coaches name me captain or not, and I can be vocal about it.
Yeah,
I'm going to put my head down and work hard player that everybody can just follow by example, that kind of thing. And then it goes even beyond that one more layer, right, where we get into this bench player substitute role.
Yeah, the B side.
That is so challenging to navigate as a player, as a parent, and as a coach.
Yes.
And so I think that's kind of where we want to head with that. Let's talk then about your OH3, right? Your third outside hitter on the team. How are you going to define that role for that kid?
What I've done is they're usually a serving spec, or if the O2 or O1 needs rest,
hopefully I can just move my 0-2 to the 0-1, 0-1 rests. But if the gap is too big, then they're just going to be like a serving spec.
Okay, so but that sucks.
It does suck. Yeah. I mean, in the world of sports, like, it's harsh, but you got to get better. You know, if you want your role to be bigger, you have to get better than the people in front of you. And then you also have to realize just because you're not on the court, you can give to the team.
Right.
And that's what's really hard to tell a kid in high school. Okay, you have a really important role on this team, but it's going to be on the bench. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But it does. The biggest problem that I would have with those OH3s, those OP2s, like the guys that are coming off the bench, biggest problem I have as a coach is when they're not ready.
Well, yeah.
And that's like, holy moly, guy.
That's
like,
kind of what we want to talk about here.
Like, you got to be ready.
Up. Yeah.
You know? And I think the best way to stay ready.
That's helping them to understand what their role actually is.
Yeah.
And I think too often we just assume these kids figure it out. Oh, he knows.
No, you got to have a black and white conversation. Whether or not you want to do it or they want to hear it, I still think it's transparent. Sometimes we don't, though.
No, sometimes the conversations are really important to have because you have to help these kids understand what that role is. And honestly, I think too often we don't, as coaches, and again, I say we, right? Because I'm thinking about myself. I don't know that I have even great conversations with the starters about what their role is. You know, like
that's the classic, you take him for granted kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a starter and he's fine because he's playing, but he might not necessarily always be that way. I remember I had a conversation with an undisclosed player recently, middle blocker. I'll just throw that out there. And this player, I won't even say a he or a she, so you won't know, and neither will they. This player is a very good blocker, works very hard. As a middle, is up and ready to hit a tempo ball from their setter, pull in the middle on their side. This player is, from my view, is a pretty good teammate. And this player I keep saying this player because I don't want to say she or he. This player came off the court after a match was over, a big match that we won, and was visibly upset, right? Like you could tell that this player just wasn't really as happy as they should have been because of the win. And I said, "What's the deal? Like we just won." And the player also understood, like, yeah, we won, and I should be happy, but a little hesitant to give me the answer. Finally, the answer was, well, I want to contribute more. I said, well, and I listed those things. You're a good blocker. You're pulling the middle. You're hustling. You're a good teammate. You cheer for your teammates, right? You know, middle. So sometimes this player got a chance to serve. When you serve, you do a good job. Like I listed all these things. Well, yeah, but I'm not getting set the ball.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, sometimes that's not necessarily your role to get set the ball.
Middles are blue collar. And if you're not okay with that, probably shouldn't be that position.
Right. And I don't know that we have enough conversations with those types of kids too. Like you're out there and you may get in a 3-set match, two sets, best of 3, whatever, best 5. You know, you might get set 2 or 3 balls a set.
Yep.
But yet you still have a very high function within the team because of you're also doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So
and it matures them too when you have those conversations.
It should.
And sometimes it doesn't mature them right away.
Right.
But it matures them in a day, a week, a month because they remember that conversation. It's tough though because they have to buy into what you're saying. And sometimes they're like, no, I should get set more. Well, why do you need to get set more when we're winning? Number 1.
Yeah.
And number 2, hopefully we have some stats to say.
Sure. Well, this player's stats were great.
Yeah.
Hitting a high percentage, just not a high volume. But then there's also that other layer that I wish somehow I could figure out how to help kids understand what their behavior looks like to their teammates. Because there are players
coming across.
There are players who are not playing
at all,
who would love to be out there blocking, pulling a middle, communicating with their teammates, sweating, trying to help the team win, whether they ever hit or not, at least they're on the court. So like the different layers of your contribution to the team really matter when you're trying to create this culture of belonging, this culture of winning, this culture of what you're trying to accomplish. And I don't know that we as coaches, me as a coach, have enough of these types of conversations with kids who, need them.
And it totally brings you closer to your athlete.
Yeah.
I would say most of the time.
Most of the time.
I think maybe 5% it backfires and you lose them. But then I think they maybe come back later. But
right.
I think most of the time it only helps the team. The problem, though, is we're not proactive with those conversations most of the time. Most of the time we're having these conversations at the qualifier or
right.
at out-of-state tournaments. There's no such thing as a qualifier in men's volleyball anymore.
Well, right. It is definitely helpful for kids to hear it frequently, to hear it, enough that they know it without questioning it, right? Like this is just kind of what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of, and if you go back and you really want to listen to a good episode, not all of our
They're
episodes are great. I know. But if you want to go back and listen to a great episode, I believe it was episode 6 with Chris and Evan. And episode 6 was when Evan was talking about when he was sitting on the sideline watching these kids play, riddled with cancer and chemo and no hair and couldn't move. And he's watching these boys play and they're not giving effort. They're not, they're taking it for granted what they have already accomplished or are able to do. And so your role players see that, those kids on the bench see that. Well, this kid isn't playing hard. Parents see it, right? Because that they're watching, they're watching their kid play. We're getting a phone call and it was annoying me.
Yeah.
This is right in the middle of the show. Those parents are watching the kid play that's in front of the other kid. You know what I mean? That's the crazy part. Like, my son's not playing, but that kid is, and that kid's attitude stinks. That kid isn't playing hard, right? And they nitpick those little things.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for all of our players to know where they fit in the grand scheme of things, and then be able to communicate that to mom and dad.
And then the next question is, are roles permanent?
No, absolutely. No. They shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be.
But think
sometimes they can be.
I think oftentimes within a team they are.
Yeah.
But I guess that leads us to our next question. Should every player on your team play all the time?
We talked about this before. I think that's going to depend on what kind of team you're coaching. Is it a varsity team, a JV team, a freshman team? Like, is it a 1's team, a 2's team, a 3's team? I mean, if it's a college team, absolutely not. Sorry, you have to perform.
Yeah, you get to a college level. Coach's job's on the line.
But a 1's kid, I think you got to make sure you're at least giving them experience, but they do need to understand the performing side of things at the 1's level. Because if you don't perform at the 1's level, it's going to be very hard to keep you on the court. Unless the person behind you is that big of a drop off. That's a big asterisk.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Or you're trying to send a message.
There's lots of playing time can be used in a lot of different ways. I guess the impetus of this question is like, no matter the team, no matter the situation, should everybody get a chance to perform on the court? And my answer is no. But age matters. These younger guys, they need to be on the court as much as possible. They need to develop. And you look at history, it'll show you that not necessarily all of these kids, are going to develop at the same rate. They might grow more. They might grow less. Like, there's a lot involved in that. So, even my own story, right? I mean, I never played when I was in 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade. I got cut as a sophomore, but my development was later on. I needed opportunities to continue to develop because you didn't know what I was going to be.
You also need to give them a chance to start to love the sport, because you don't want to be the reason a kid stops playing. And that is what's in the back of my mind when it comes to a bench player. Like, I need them to love this sport, but I also need them to understand, hey, sometimes people are just better than you. Like, and that's really hard.
All right. Well, but how do you keep those kids engaged? Because
that's where you got to give them a role.
At some point, you need those boys to play,
and that's why you throw them a bone.
Right? Sorry, I just keep, because we're in the middle of kind of the end of our boys season. But you need these kids to be engaged. Your 10, 11, 12th player needs to be engaged because you might need them at some point. Yeah. Whether or not you're going to win a match with them in the game, you still need them, and you need them in practice.
Yep.
And I say that to my players a lot. Like, listen, you are huge for us in practice. You are making us better because of the competition that you are bringing to our practice court. And I'm sure that, like, this doesn't matter.
Hey, I don't want to interrupt here, but the audience is going to get a little sneak preview of your directorness. Andrew Yamashiro needs you to open up Aspire. His open path isn't working.
Oh, jeez.
I think that's why he was calling you.
That's super funny.
So, all right. Please stand by.
Well, I wonder if please stand by. I wonder if the door has been locked.
Like with a key.
Shouldn't be.
Ooh, that's not good.
Text him that? No? I mean, I just unlocked it.
Okay.
All right. Well, there you go. Right in the middle of the show.
There
it is. Sometimes the job never ends, right?
No.
All right. So back to the 10th and 11th.
He's all good.
He's good?
Yep, he's good.
I was worried.
So
really
worried.
worried. Yeah. Back to the 10th, 11th, and 12th player on the team. How do you keep those kids happy and engaged?
I would say, in my experience, I've had more conversation and more talking off the ledge, throwing stuff here, with those players than I have with my starters. So I would actually say at times I am closer to my 10th, 11th, and 12th players emotionally than I am with my starters, just so there is that connection to where they know I do care about them. It's just the role is very different for where you are. And that's where I think my 10th, 11th, 12th kids, they do okay with being on the bench and having fun with those cheers, etc. But I don't know. What do you think of that?
Well, so Noah and I have had some good conversation about this recently, and we actually asked one of our role guys this question. You know, is it enough to just conversations are huge. Interacting with those kids is really important. If you're not interacting with 10, 11, and 12, instantly they're going to feel like they don't belong. Practice, you need to make sure you're continuing to coach those kids, right? You can't just focus on the starters. I think there are way too many teams that just want to focus on the starters because, you know, those are the guys that are going to help us win. But so Noah and I had, we were debating at one tournament recently, like, okay, so do you want, my microphone just died on me. Do you want to be thrown a bone in a match? Like, you're winning.
Garbage
your
time.
Team's up. Yeah, garbage time. Your team's up 23.
I hope
15,
12. Yeah, okay,
or whatever. And we'll just throw them in for the last 2 points. And Noah said,
I hated that stuff.
Oh, yeah. No.
Oh, well.
Now we got a dolphin sound. Yeah.
Like when it more so happened when I was in college, because, you know, that's majority of the time when I was on the bench. But if we were blowing a team out, coach, keep the starters in. Let's get out of here. Let's go have fun after the match. Like, and then if we're getting blown out, like, I also don't want to go in because now I just look bad.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what. I mean, granted,
so
if the other
like
team is better. Yeah, it's almost,
but do you also
to me,
think
it feels
that's
like a lose-lose.
Do you think, though, that's like a fragile part of your ego then that's being attacked? Is that what it is?
Because not everybody feels that way.
Correct.
Because the player we talked to,
what they say,
really know. I mean, that's hard to think because I'm not like in that position right now. You know, like,
what
it
did this
that
player
question
say?
been asked earlier. Like, who knows?
Right. This player said that it depended on the situation a little bit, but they wanted to play. Yeah, give me some time out there. I'll get out there and do my thing. When I was a bench player as a basketball kid growing up, I mean, I wanted any time I could get on the court. Part of me in the back of my mind thought that and felt like, oh, if I get out there right now, I can show the coach that I can do this. Put me in the game, coach, right? Like,
and it might change their view of you too.
Yeah, watch me go play really hard for these 3 minutes that I get. You know, watch me kind of change, you know, the complexion of this moment, even though we're like, you know, we're winning by 30 points or whatever it was. But I thought it was my shot. You know what I mean? Which it really wasn't. Like looking back, like
but
14-year-old
mentally,
Ryan
it doesn't matter.
Didn't matter.
Yeah.
But for me,
that's all that matters
to get my chance. Yeah.
I think I was more so coming from like, hey, the starters earned it. Like if they're blowing them out, they earned they earned the right to be on a court and absolutely destroy a team.
See, and then
if the starters are getting blown out, hey, like they need to learn how to lose too.
No, but see,
not just your backups.
But see, I actually
that's where
think,
I was.
I actually think that like when I was a starter, it was an honor to be taken out of a game that you were blowing somebody out. Like, pull me the last 4 minutes.
That's why they get a standing ovation at the highest level. Yeah, I agree with that.
Absolutely smoked that other team over there. Yeah, take me out. Like, I'll point at the stands and,
I think the hard one is going to be when you're down and you get thrown into the fire.
Right. Don't put me in when we're losing by it. Yeah.
That's the one. But then it's also, it all depends on what kind of mindset you're. Are you in a threat mindset? Are you in a challenge mindset? Like, which way are you viewing it as the athlete?
Yeah, I say that now. Like, put me in when we're losing. Because the other, like, if the other team has their starters in and I go in, we're down 20 to
nothing to lose.
20 to 8.
There's nothing to lose.
I'm going in and there's my shot, man. And all of a sudden now we run off 6 or 7 points.
Holy crap.
Yeah, dude, fire me up.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just a different
it's a mindset thing for sure. Yeah, it depends on the kid. You got to get to know the kid for sure.
I just think like, hey, like they are beating them by this much. Let them go like shine and have their fun. I was always in a frame of mind of like, hey, like if I'm stepping on a court in a team game, in a personal game, I am coming to absolutely end your life. Like I don't care if we're winning by 5. I don't care if we're winning by 50.
Yeah,
my best players are going to be on the court, and we're absolutely going to mess you up. Granted, that was in college. Club, high school,
certainly different.
A little bit different,
right?
But when I was in college, like, and my coach and I were actually on a pretty same like wavelength. Like I told him, I was like, hey, like if we're beating a team by X amount, like keep our guys in there and let's absolutely mess them up,
right?
And then
that's why you have to. That's why you have to have a conversation with the kid.
And then I think, hey, maybe next game we realize that we can get by with some of our bench guys playing for rest or experience or whatever it is. Okay, then maybe throw me in like
put them in
when we're not absolutely destroying them.
You just never know.
And I think my coach in college did a really good job at managing. Like, hey, this is a game where we can either rest this person or give this person that doesn't give many opportunities in the game with the starters, XYZ, stuff like that.
I have found diamonds in the rough, so to speak, with my air quotes, right? Like in garbage time. Like, oh wow, this kid can do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. She can do X, Y, and Z. Like maybe I can play this person in a different role now moving forward. And I think in our situation being, youth coaches, prep coaches, I think that it's vital that we develop every kid all the time because you never know when that moment's going to come when you're going to need
especially
that super
in boys
sub.
Volleyball too. I totally believe that it's different because they mature physically later.
Yeah,
dude, we've had kids on JVB, and if you don't know what JVB is, it's like our third level in Arizona. It's called Frostoff now, that have turned into state champions.
Yeah.
That's not normal in girls volleyball.
Right.
Like, hey, you're a freshman girl volleyball player, and then you're like, no. It doesn't happen much.
We've had ones that have competed in national championships at the collegiate level from Arizona.
Yeah, an example right now.
Xander is one that pops in my mind.
Yeah.
Nicholas Gibson.
Yeah.
He was a JV player as his junior year, and then he went to Ben U and was like in a national championship.
Here's
program.
your example. You ready for this? This will blow your mind. And Perry's maybe a little different than other schools from boys volleyball perspective, and that's where I coach. We tend to get a lot of boys and a lot of talent. Ben Nygren was a JVB kid as a freshman, and
Nygren.
And now Ben Nygren is
18 open gold bracket libero.
Yeah, one of the best liberos probably in the country, and getting looks at all these colleges. Not that he was a bad player. That B team was gnarly. I mean, Rock was on that B team, and Jake Andreasen. I mean, a bunch of these boys who are now seniors who are competing at a really high level now. They develop differently.
And you don't want to be a kid's last coach.
Let these kids play.
That's what's tough too. That's like in the back of my mind a little bit because it was in my first coaching clinic. Sometimes it's inevitable, not gonna lie. Sometimes you can't do anything about it. They're gonna be, even if you're the best coach in the world, the worst coach in the world, they might just be done mentally, but you don't want to be the reason because
that's
put them
tough.
aside.
There's been a couple of times that's actually happened to me at Aspire. Kids were on my team one year and then they come back for tryouts. Sorry, our club's gotten better and you haven't.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
I'm done playing since I didn't make your team again this year.
It goes both ways. I feel like there's a double-edged sword to playing kids all the time. You know, there are matches, there's moments when you can play everybody, you can rotate guys, and then you get to the bigger matches, the more important ones, so to speak. And then you're stuck, right? Because these kids expect to play.
Yeah.
But that's why these conversations need to happen. This is your role on this team, and if you perform it at a high level, you can continue to be successful. Have I talked about on this show, and I don't know, it's only been 15 episodes, have I talked about Sailor Butters on this show yet?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sailor comes to mind, and maybe if you haven't heard that episode, this one, for me, it's really close to home, and this is one of the most incredible examples of understanding roles and what a team needs. And she and Anna Morse were battling out for the libero spot, and she saw a need as a defensive specialist, and that a role she could fill in a really high level that could help the team win. And she's now finishing up her career
as the starting libero at West Point.
Yeah, like for a collegiate volleyball team, she's had an incredible career. She's an incredible human being. Those were conversations that she and I had about what does the team need. She was a little bit more mature than most at seeing kind of what that looked like, but it was important for that team's success for her to understand that role. So, all right, let's keep rolling here. We got a couple more.
One thing that just came to mind because we were talking about it in SoCal. When you change a player's role and their performance goes down, or a player does not get the role they want and their performance goes down, that is tough. Like, they can play at this, they don't get the role they want or they think they should have, so then now their level of play goes down.
Sounds about right.
Then that's tough.
Yeah, it's like, dang, fixing that's hard.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah. It's a bummer from a coaching perspective. It's a bummer as a player. It's a bummer as a parent. And that's that one's tough.
Good luck.
Good luck. Exactly.
Some of these problems, there are no great solutions. Like, we're not going to sit here and solve all the world's problems, but so that, I guess, leads into the next conversation here about parents and how can we help the parents to understand what this process looks like. You've done something that I've seen you do before that I find very impressive, and I don't know if you do it all the time or not, but I've been involved in a conversation with you with a player about her role. Hey, this is your role on this team, right? You're going to be a bench girl. You're going to maybe be a setter. You might be a DS. You might play here or there. You might just be a serving spec. And you need to make sure you're okay with that, And so we're having this conversation, which is great. You want to have them. And then the last thing you did, this is the part that I was like, okay. And I was leading that conversation, and you were just kind of there. Do you remember this?
This was at an open house, right?
Yeah. And then you looked at the girl and you said, repeat to me what your role is.
Because in that motion, the kid's
all over the place.
All over the place, yeah.
Repeat to me what your role is, and then go communicate that with your parents.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we lose a lot of this is we don't.
The game of telephone is
it's gnarly. It's gnarly. And parents, bless their souls, they don't always get the full story from their kid. And so
the good ones know that too.
Right?
The parents that have been there before know that.
They're definitely in the dark on some of this stuff. So, having these conversations is important, but also making sure that these kids communicate properly to their parents, and then helping the parents understand whatever your kid's role is, it's really okay. And there are lessons to be learned in all of these different roles. And that's what gets lost when it comes to this whole playing time issue. I want to be on the court. I want to play the whole time. Sure, everybody does. Mm-hmm. But why are you playing sports? Just so you're out there? Just to be there, right? No, you're playing to learn to compete. You're playing to learn, not necessarily even compete in matches, but compete in practice against other teammates to try to earn that playing
the greater
time.
Good, if you will, too, thinking about the big picture of a team.
Right. Because, guess what? You're going to get hired at a job someday.
And you're going to be a peasant.
You're probably not the manager.
No.
You know what I mean? You have to work your way up. And if you can't function in that framework, then you're never going to get it.
Yeah.
Help these kids understand that these roles are okay and that they matter still, and that it's a part of growing up. It's a part of the process I actually think
that should be an episode, by the way, the process.
I actually think that the kids who go through it end up becoming much more well-rounded adults than the kids who are just always the pro stars. Like I play all the time.
They actually have a better understanding of sport too.
Better understanding of sport, better understanding of how to communicate with others, better understanding of how to deal with adversity. All of those things that are just the absolute best lessons we learn from sports. They are picking that up when they struggle in these role player modes, when they don't play a lot. So hard to learn in the moment, but so valuable to try to pick up after the fact. Don't lose sight of really what's important,
And that's building good behavior.
Right.
Or the correct way of thinking about it. Yeah. Do you want to end with?
Let's end with that little last
that's
part
all
there.
Man.
I like
that's
it.
All you. I like it too.
So the question is, what makes an effective team? And essentially, what we've talked about so far is how you build these players across the board, and you have to build them into these roles so that everybody knows, because everybody's working in unison. The old watch clock analogy where each little cog turns and spins and it makes it work. So that's what we're doing here. And so there's 5 things that we see that kind of can help develop an effective team, if you will. Number 1, commitment to shared objectives, right? And that part, I think, can help really these role players buy in.
What are we trying to accomplish?
Right. And we can't accomplish that without you. Yeah. You were selected to this team for a very specific purpose. And that purpose might not be to play all the time in every match. It might be to give rest to a starter. It might be to serve really aggressively. It might be to play defense in the back row. It might be whatever it is, right? But you need to make sure you understand your commitment to this shared objective, which is not only like little in-game things, stats and things, but also that grand scheme of things. Where do we want to go? And then, holding each other accountable to that goal. We talked about accountability a couple episodes ago. And so holding everybody accountable is kind of part of that commitment. Number 2, accurate shared mental models. What does that even mean?
I'm guessing how you're thinking about things, how you are as a team, how you're thinking about the process and what to expect mentally through that. I don't know. What do you think?
No, that's exactly where we're going with that one.
Yeah.
Making sure that all your players think the same way. And I know that's kind of weird to say because you want to have, thinkers, individual thinkers and things like that. But in the framework of a team, you have to mentally all be on that same page.
Yeah.
Right. This is what we're trying to accomplish. This is how we're going to do it. Right. Third one, and this is what we talked about, role clarity and acceptance. And that's the communication that we discussed. Right? We just spent 40 minutes talking about.
Less than that. We did a
role
little
clarity.
We took some time on trivia
and acceptance. Yeah, we did a little longer on trivia today. Number 4, mutual trust and cooperation. This part is oftentimes left behind from a player to player perspective, from a player to coach perspective, because it's hard.
Yes. Building trust is not easy.
Yeah.
And it takes time.
Right. And it's easy to lose.
Oh, it's so much easier
to lose.
Out of
the drop of a hat and your trust can be gone. And so it takes constant effort. And then the last one would be collective potency. I love that word.
Yeah, you go.
Collective potency, strength, right? Something that's potent, it's very strong, right? So collectively we can do more, right? Together, what is it? Team, together, everyone achieves more.
Yeah.
Right. And that's essentially what we're trying to build here is the ability to achieve more together rather than individually. And team sports is incredible for that. There's nothing, this is probably hyperbole. There is nothing else in this world that can effectively teach the lessons that our kids learn
in sport
through sport.
We're biased, obviously, but I'm going to agree with you.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I am going to agree with that.
Yeah.
athletes view the world and view people and view it very differently.
I guess if you were a member of an orchestra or a band,
and that's a high, but anytime you're trying to be a high level performer for any sort of team, you're going to think differently. Yeah.
So band, orchestra,
absolutely.
being part of something, a group of people trying to accomplish a common goal.
Yes.
But sports does it unlike no other.
Yeah,
I think it's the physical nature of it, how it can be physically demanding, and you have to understand how to rely on others, and the sport breeds some incredible lessons that just can't be found anywhere else.
So I actually thought that very same thing until earlier this year. We had like the I know I'm gonna get the name of the position wrong, but he was like the guy in Peoria for firefighters.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like
fire
he was like
chief, the fire marshal. Is that right?
So he was
is
like,
that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's something like
Chief.
that. He wasn't the head guy. He was the one like right below it. So he was like second in command for all of Peoria, and like he came in and he talked to our boys and he's like, "You guys don't understand. You guys have to rely on each other for wins and losses. We have to rely on each other." If like that guy's gonna live,
Yeah,
for
it's different.
12
It's
more
a different
hours.
stake.
No,
yeah,
but-
that's the SEAL Team 6 kind of stuff. Like they're operating, they have to be perfect.
But what I'm saying is, you learn, like those guys didn't just show up on the fire at the fire department with the ability to do that.
Oh no, it takes work. It's like
Well, but where did they learn those lessons as kids, Noah?
or in firefighter school.
No. I think those lessons are strengthened and heightened.
You have
and
the
their
base,
awarenesses,
you
but
have the
no,
base
those
things. Yeah, when
find
you
me
were
a firefighter
child,
who wasn't an athlete.
I actually know 2 of them that I went to high school with.
What'd they do?
One was a kid. He didn't play sports, and the other was like a band kid or something.
Okay, well, we talked about band. I'm telling you.
But I mean, that's not being an athlete.
I understand that, but we talked about how band is similar to that, right? I mean, you're trying, you have to do things in unison and whatever, but I mean, those guys and gals, as men and women who become firefighters, they develop a lot of those characteristics through their sports training that they have while growing up.
Yeah.
And then again, they're reinforced and they're heightened in those scenarios. The Army and, our armed forces are military that, working in unison, that kind of thing. Obviously it's heightened. Lives are at stake. I get that. But these lessons start when you're 12, 13, 14 years old playing on a sports team. If you have the right coach, if you have the right environment, if you're given those right opportunities, I firmly believe it. You're not wrong. I mean, those firefighters, those are servicemen and women do incredible things together and couldn't accomplish it without each other. But I believe that most of those, and if you ask a lot of those people, I guarantee they'll say, yeah, a lot of these lessons came from when I was a kid.
Yeah. That's when you're most malleable. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Not that it can't be done later on in life, right? No. Obviously, that's part of growing up and maturing. So we thank you for sticking with us. This is one of our maybe longer episodes. Hopefully you learned some stuff and you have a better idea of how these roles work and how that might fit into the framework of a team. So thanks for listening to Pin the Volleyball Podcast. Follow us on social media at PinToPinPodcast on Instagram. YouTube.
That's the number 2.
Yeah, the number 2. YouTube, Pin to Pin. And wherever you find podcasts, Spotify, Google, and Apple. And we'll see you on the next side.
Peace.